Okay, I'm gonna make one last video of just oddities here at 2735 Westwood Boulevard. Just random stuff about the house that I either know because I'm the guy who did it or took me years to figure out, and I wish I'd known from the beginning. So one thing, there's an Ethernet cable here in this workshop I was using as a home office. It disappears into the wall there, goes up into the attic, across the garage and the kitchen, down through this wall, down into the crawl space, and then back up through a hole behind this cabinet and terminates here where I had my router. And by the way, there's a bunch of critical electrical and phone lines running through this wall. So in the top of it, if you go into the attic, you can reach your arm down into the wall. It's not like a normal top plate across the studs. There's somehow a gap. So that's a useful place for running electric. This vent by the front door is right on top of the furnace, so it blows really strong, and the thermostat is right there. So if that is wide open, it shuts the thermostat off immediately and the rest of the house doesn't get warm. So we try to keep it closed. Here in the living room, when I first bought the house, this outlet was switched, and you're just supposed to use floor lamps. I didn't like that, so I installed the recessed lighting. But if you open this up, there is like an orphaned wire that runs from the top of this to the top of the wall that's just clipped. It's clipped to the top and the bottom, so if you open that up, there's like a scary looking unterminated wire. It was stapled to the stud, so I couldn't pull it out, but that's why that was there. That's originally what ran to the light switch. Now the outlet's powered off of the same circuit as all the other outlets in here. This hallway toilet is from the 1980s. There's like a stamp inside the tank, so super old. Plumber told me it has like the old style, I don't know, design to the drain, and so it does clog sometimes, but nothing wrong with the lines. It's just that the toilet is really old. If you set the garage door keypad code to 0000, your garage door will go up in the middle of the night for no reason. It just picks up on background RF or something and interprets that as 4 zeros. So yeah, set it to a real code. This built-in shelf will come out if you undo the bracket at the top, but this one, the house has settled around it and it's sort of crushed between the chimney and the wall. It will not come out. I painted behind it once by sort of wedging it up an inch. That's about all it'll move. And in general, this part of the house sees a lot of movement. There's just a lot of, the house moves relative to itself differently here because that's the edge of the crawl space. And then the fireplace sort of moves differently than the rest of the walls around it. And you end up with this area of the ceiling all around here is just prone to cracking. So I've fixed a lot of cracks. I did proper fiberglass tape and a backing plate on it and stuff. So hopefully it'll be good for a while, but yeah, this part of the house moves a lot just because of crawl space versus slab versus fireplace. So under the kitchen sink, there's like this orphaned drain going back into the wall. The history there is that there used to be a sink and garbage disposal combo that was much higher, and this was able to drain into that. But with the new ones pushing all that lower, the plumber decided to just drain through the floor. And when it goes through the floor, it ties into the same thing that ties into, which is basically a drain. There's a vent and a drain behind the dishwasher. Oh, and by the way, this dishwasher just barely fit. If you ever take it out, there's a bracket right. It's almost impossible to see. There's a magic little bracket right there that keeps the dishwasher in place. You're supposed to screw them in from the sides, but the material here is so thin, I opted to anchor it at the bottom instead. Here in the living room, if you ever want to run a wire from the living space to the crawl space, Ethernet or whatever, there's a hole through the subfloor there. And another one here in the master below that outlet. So here behind the water heater, there's that extra little bit of PVC pipe. You're technically not supposed to do that. This is the overflow, where if that safety valve thing bursts, it will drain out this pipe, perhaps rapidly, flooding your main living space. And code says that has to be up off the floor so that you know it's flooding, so it doesn't flood something below you. But what's below me is a dirt crawl space, so I would much rather it flood the crawl space than my living space, and just take my chances that I would hear it doing something I don't want it to do. So I have a little extra piece splicing that down through a hole that was already there in the crawl space. And these vents in the laundry closet door are required by code also because there's a gas burning appliance back there. And this washer lid is kind of a little bit lazy, so it falls down. So we always leave this open. I mounted a little clip there, and that'll prevent it from falling down while you're loading laundry. Nothing really special about this. I just wanted to point out that that information took me years to figure out. Here's where the water supply line for the ice cube maker in the refrigerator is tapped into the hot water instead of the cold water. I'm not sure why they did that or if it was an accident, but the ice cubes sometimes don't form quite right if you've been running hot water to the kitchen sink recently. So I think that needs to be moved over to the other side. Okay, by the furnace, this is a pump that pumps the condensation out that comes from the air conditioner, and it's plugged into this GFCI. So if your air conditioning mysteriously goes out, it's probably because this GFCI tripped.